It is the day after Nvidia earnings, and as if you have seen my video yesterday, I was talking about my expectations for earnings, and of course I was spot on. I said they're gonna beat like crazy, the outlook is gonna be amazing because we are in the greatest infrastructure build out in the history of humanity. That sounds maybe hyperbolic, but it isn't. It's just a fact. Look at the exact spend, $600 billion expected spent on AI just by the hyperscalers, by Meta, by Microsoft, by Google, by Amazon, and so on. That is completely nuts. It's unprecedented. And guess who is the company that benefits the most from it? It's Nvidia, of course. And I also said, and you see that I'm sharing Nvidia's share price today, which is down 5%. And I told you yesterday, the question whether Nvidia will fall or rise is completely independent of the earnings, because it was predictable that Nvidia is going to deliver absolutely stunning earnings. And I already warned you guys, we might flatline. That's what I expected. I said there is a chance that these people will just sell off the stock, and these people, who I mean by that, are the investors, the normies, the institutional Wall Streeters, and some randos out there. Why are they selling the stock off, and why did I warn everyone? Because it was clear to me that earnings don't matter to these people. They have something in their mind and they think, oh my God, it's a bubble. And the more profit you make, the better the things look like, the more it's a bubble in their mind. Once they have make up their mind, they just think it's a bubble. The better it is, the worse it is. It doesn't make any sense. And I also predicted they cannot hold this up. So it's absolutely, 1,000,000%, not investment advice, but 1,000,000% safe to say Nvidia is going to go over 200 in very short order. Now, I'm not playing Nvidia. I'm focusing on Tesla. Tesla is a little correlated when we look at that. When we look at Tesla stock, where is the stock here? It's a little correlated. Got dumped a little bit, well, a lot actually in the beginning, and then recovered. Obviously, because even the biggest AI bubble conspiracy theorists have to understand what's going on. So it recovered. I sold some puts down here, by the way, some more, even though I'm a little loaded up. I think we'll recover a little bit more tomorrow, very likely. Even if not, who cares, next week. So all in all, of course, I'm not concerned at all when you look at Nvidia, total insanity. And I thought today, how can I capture and how can I re-emphasize my perspective that AI is not in a bubble? The absolute opposite is true. The absolute opposite is true. And I'm not going to go into the details of the earnings because you guys can look it up. They beat earnings. They grew over 70% year over year. Insane for the largest company on earth, Nvidia. They now forecasted even higher growth than people could have even imagined for the next quarter. They also said they're sold out. They also said there is no end in sight. And Jensen, of course, explained why this is such an enormous boon, because he was explaining the nature of intelligence and what is actually happening here. Instead of doubling down of what I already said and what Jensen Huang, who's an extremely amazing entrepreneur, by the way, made clear to everyone, instead of that, I want to just jump into a completely seemingly different story. And that story, you can read it on X, that story is, first on Zero Hedge, I saw it on X, Block. And Block, actually you can look it up here on CNBC, today, it just happened. At right after market close, they reported today on Thursday at 4:08 p.m. Shares soar 24%, that's a lot, as company slashes workforce by nearly half. So Block announced today, just a few minutes ago, that they are going to lay off 4,000 employees, about half of its headcount. So they have 9,000 employees or something. Okay, now normally when that happens, the stock goes down, because if you lay off half your workforce, that smells like a complete implosion and crisis. But it is not. It is not a crisis. They're making good money. They just realized we don't need our employees anymore. Block CFO said the job cuts would enable it to move faster with smaller, highly talented teams, using AI to automate more work so they can lay off 2,000 employees in the next quarter. He didn't say that, but guess what's coming? They are laying off another half very soon. Why? Because it's one of these perfect examples where people are not needed anymore. I made this prediction a year ago, actually a little bit over a year ago. I remember where I was sitting. It was mid of January 2025, and I made this prediction that the age of AGI has already begun a year ago, and the singularity has already started while no one was paying attention. We are already in a recursive improvement cycle of AI. And it's going to get worse and worse for people who need jobs. It's game over for the jobs. So let's do a little math here. Let's assume for a company like this, that is basically a service, white collar service company, right? What are their expenses? They pay a little lease, have some branches out there, and they have 8,000 employees. These employees, they make up probably over 50%, 60, 70% of their entire operating expenses. Because what would they even pay money for? Their little leases? No one cares. Let's assume 80% or let's assume 60% of your operating expenses, right, are your employees. And let's assume you make 20% margin, 10% margin. I don't even know. I didn't even research this company because it's standard stuff. Let's assume they have a 10% margin. Maybe they have a 20% margin. And 60% is the employees, and they're cutting that. Do you know what that means? It means they are boosting their operating margin like dramatically. They're basically cutting their entire cost structure, these 80% that are not margin, probably by 30%. Just through that one move, by 30%, which means they're going from 20% margin to 50%. Just let that sink in. So what does it do to a stock if you can grow your earnings by 120%, 130%, 150%, right? If you go from 20% to 50% margin or EBITDA margin, that means you're growing your bottom line by 150%. So the stock can go up 150% in theory. Just simple back of the napkin math. That tells you the absolute power of AI. And now the question is, stock is up 24%. Let's do a little exercise. I will do a little exercise for you guys. Bear with me. I will show where this block example, that is a representative example, how the entire white collar workforce will be decimated in the next 18 months by 50% or more across the entire United States. Just let that sink. No one even understands that, I think. This is a complete devastation on the job market. Let me just jump right into this and let's look at the stock. I have no idea about this company. I do this spontaneously just for you guys. So you see this crazy thing, right? They're announcing, oh, we are firing everyone. Like, look at this. Look at this crazy stuff. These people are worth $30 billion. This is one of these companies. They're up a quarter. What's a quarter of 30 billion, right? A quarter of 30 billion, that's like 15, so it's 7 billion. $7 billion. This company just generated $7 billion in market cap. That's just one random American company. They just generated $7 billion in additional market cap. How much can these people afford to spend on AI? And the answer is not $90 a month, not $90,000 a month, not even $90 million a month. They can spend hundreds of millions on AI because they just saved so much money and increased the market cap, and that's just one company. We just created $7 billion in market cap just through one move. So if you think AI is fake, if you think AI is a bubble, let that sink in. I picked truly randomly. I did not prepare this. I just saw the next. Truly randomly, I'm picking this thing out. A random company. Do you know how many block equivalents the United States has? Think about Ernst & Young. Think about Deloitte. Think about Accenture. These are all just glorified blocks. No offense, right? If you work at Goldman Sachs, you don't need any of these people. You just need Claude. And everyone knows it. But now it's sinking in. Companies that are a little smaller than JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, like Block. By the way, they're not that small, $30 billion. But they are pulling the trigger. They are firing everyone. It is, guys, think about it. It is February 2026. The other side of the coin, no pun intended, because we will need coins, a lot of coins. The other side of the coin is while everyone gets wiped out on the job market, capital gains will go through the roof because the economy will go through the roof. Because we will go through into the greatest age of abundance and universal productivity anyone could have even not imagined. It's like the greatest thing ever that happened, only that everyone is unemployed. And then some people say, oh, Joe, don't you understand economics? If people are unemployed, no one can buy the stuff. Like, wrong. Why do you need people to be employed to buy stuff? Then the people cannot buy stuff, which is very sad, by the way. But Elon single-handedly can buy everything, plus Jeff Bezos maybe. This is just how it looks like. And instead of buying teddy bears or buying chewing gum or buying yogurts, they just buy AI chips. Who cares? Economy is economy. You don't need to buy yogurts. You can buy AI chips. And instead of 1 million people buying yogurts, it can be just Elon going to Jensen buying $1 trillion of chips, and then Google and so on. And you have a giant economy that grows like crazy. So we have to start thinking in first principles, because a lot of things change very rapidly. And don't shoot the messenger here, because I'm not saying this is amazing. I'm just saying this is what it is. And we need to be smart about it. So what does it mean? Well, it means that this here is completely ignorant. It's ignorant because this drop of Nvidia is based on one single thesis that is screamingly obviously wrong. And that thesis is, sure, they're growing like crazy. They're the most profitable company in the history of humanity. They have no end in sight. They are booked out forever. They have one of the most brilliant teams in the world, and they will keep growing like crazy. But I have one theory, not me, the normie dummy investor out there. It all looks amazing, and they're drowning in cash, and they're drowning in even exponentially more cash, but it's a bubble. And in 1 quarter or 2 quarters, Jensen will come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, suddenly no one wants to buy our chips. That is the thesis. You have to understand this. That is the thesis why the stock is dropping, right? You're basing on a rocket to orbit, and halfway through, after 3 minutes, in the middle of half to orbit, or whatever it takes, like 3 minutes, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes, I don't know. Ask Elon. I'm not a rocket expert, but not too long, halfway through, suddenly say, oh, I'm totally sure this rocket will not make it to orbit. Like, bro, we are in a rocket. We are going up. We are halfway through. It's 60 more seconds. What do you want? Why do you think we are not going to orbit? Well, I don't know. I just think it's a bubble. You can't just think it's a bubble. You need some form of evidence for it. And all the evidence points in the other direction. Because the core of this whole AI thesis, of the bubble thesis, is there's no value being generated. Okay, AI is like nice for cat videos. AI is nice as a little chat assistant. But it doesn't create the value. There is no return on all the investments we are doing. That's the thesis of the bubble conspiracists. Okay, there's no value being generated. What is that? What do you think that is? That's just a random block. What do you think happens to JP Morgan when they announce they are firing 40% of people, which they will inevitably very soon? If they go up 25%, and they keep up going 25% every single quarter because they're announcing more and more of that stuff, then it's not like a meager 8 billion, 7 billion. Then it's like JP Morgan going up 25% and all these other companies. Accenture, what about them? So the idea that AI is not generating value has been completely dismissed at this point, if you have any idea about anything. That's why I wanted to connect these dots for you guys. What does it all mean for Tesla? I mean, you know my theory about Tesla. This is ridiculous what we are looking at here. They dropped Tesla in line. Look at this. In line with Nvidia, of course. Look at this. Let's go to Tesla. They dropped Tesla in line with Nvidia today because they're dumb. This makes even less sense, of course. Well, I wouldn't say that. This actually makes the least sense, Nvidia. And Tesla recovered a little bit. Nvidia didn't recover. It got worse. And, this actually happened last earnings call already, which is like hilarious. Is this last earnings call here? Where was last earnings call? Was it here? December? I think it was November. I think it dropped somewhere around here. So they were equally dumb back then, right? I think, or was it? I don't even know. It happened somewhere here. But I remember this. They had like absolutely ridiculous blowout earnings, made the predictions, and boom, then it dropped, right? Oh, bubble, bubble, bubble. And then, of course, it went up again here until today. So we need to be smart about this, people. I tell you one thing. The market is still annoyed. Let's look at the fear and greed index. Fear and greed. Let's see what happens on the fear and greed index. It's probably like medium fear, like 40 something. Yeah, boom, there you have it. 44 fear and greed index. So that's not super fearful. Nothing compared to crypto. But it's still in the fear territory. Like, why? This is the most annoying thing, that people are fearful. So we are basically artificially pushing that into fear, even though we are in the most bullish situation that humanity ever was in, at least from a stock perspective. I'm not talking about unemployment. I'm not talking about political turmoil. Of course, this is all coming with lightning speed. We are like basically driving into a giant freaking wall on that side of things. But when it comes to money, stocks, and profits, there will be the greatest bonanza in history. And so that is the situation. It's very important that we get together, Pioneer Lands, Pioneer Academy. You can go to the Pioneer Academy and ask your questions. We should actually start discussing way more about these bigger picture questions, how politics now will evolve, and what the predictions are on the macroeconomic scale. Here, go to Pioneer Lands. We have this beautiful Pioneer Academy. You can ask your questions here and I will respond to your questions. Of course, if you're a citizen, you get preferred treatment because I will answer all your questions every week. We start on Saturday, by the way, Saturday first live Pioneer Academy. I will do a live stream and go through all citizen questions. But you can click on politics here and ask political questions. And politics includes like, okay, what does it all mean when we actually have that unemployment coming? Especially white collar unemployment, which is like the main income source for the economy. Like that's where the entire middle and upper middle class and lower middle class lives, in the white collar space. It will be complete devastation, and block is one of these examples. And for us, it's very important to predict the future cold-bloodedly and rationally, so we can then make the right personal, financial, and moral and political decisions, but on an informed basis. We need to first understand the future before we react to it or prepare for it. But I see this dramatic tsunami coming. End of this year, it will already be a giant, how do you say that on YouTube? Poop show. It will be a poop show. And in 2027, it will be panic. And in 2028, we have a problem. A lot of people will be unemployed. I just talked to a bunch of normies, nice normies. They don't know what's happening. They're like, oh, really? AI? I've never heard of that. So we are in the bubble here in Pioneer Lands on X and so on. Tesla investors, we know what's going on, but most people don't really get it. And they think, oh, it's so far away. Last time I checked, the cat videos were still bad. Well, tell them about Block. Tell them about that there's this company that just laid off half of their people and they were all accounting and white collar people. How long will it take until the last company has to do that? Not long. Like maybe 12 months before the last laggard has to react to it. So we need to think about these things, and we need to really think through in the Pioneer Academy and have discussions about what are the exact timelines, what's the impact on economics, what is the impact on politics, on voters, on left-wing populism, potentially on right-wing populism. We have to figure out what right-wing populism even means and where would it lead to. That's a bigger question. Left-wing populism, very clear where it leads to. Mamdani and these people. What will they be able to actually achieve? Can they implement socialism? Is it all fake? Do they go to Congress and then get totally blocked because Congress is in firm control of the oligarchs? These are all interesting questions that I don't even know all the answers to. We have to think this through, right? These will be very important questions because socialism will be like probably 100 times stronger in 2 years based on this situation. And then it will be all decisive. Is the United States actually democracy? Would they actually implement socialism? Or is it completely fake? So the socialists would, once they're in Congress, completely flip and say, sure, now we give Elon more money. What is it? Without judging any of these scenarios, we have to understand them first. Like, what is the most likely outcome here? Because I think thinking this is all going to be fine. No, who cares if everyone is unemployed? They're still going to vote the same way. Oh, there's UBI. It's like, really? You think there's UBI? Someone is going to give everyone money from what? Will they start printing money like crazy? Like, what is even happening? This is extremely difficult to predict. Extremely difficult when you actually put your prediction hat on and simulate this through. Especially given that all these fantasies and all these discussions about AGI and abundance and UBI and socialism and everything, they were always made, these discussions, on the assumption that this actually never happens. It's like, oh, in 2040. No, we're talking 2026, which is this year, in case you didn't notice. This is a tsunami coming. And so these scenarios, we need to confront them and think it through. Is it like, oh, unemployment, boom, vote, Mundani, AOC, socialism, and that's the path? Is it, oh, some crazy takeover from someone in the government through AI and like tyranny? Is it just oligarchy? Silicon Valley can seize control? What is it? I tell you one thing that it's not. It's not going to be what it was. So let's figure that out. These are important questions. We have to weave into the question how we make money with Tesla and Nvidia and these things, even though that's a very important question. But we have to start thinking about these bigger pictures, because I tell you, pioneers, this is the real deal now. We are moving into the real deal of AI. And if you know how real it is, definitely ignore this, because that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And it also shows you how the world is diverging. People don't get it anymore. Like, look at this stupidity. That means the market has a complete lack of understanding what's going to happen next. Whoever sells Nvidia after that quarter, and a lot of people sell it, has absolutely no clue how serious the situation is. Serious in a bad way and serious in a good way. Serious in a good way that there will be profits through the roof, and serious in a bad way that there will be massive social disruptions. Okay, that's my little video for today. I hope that was interesting. You know, that's why I love this whole thing, even though it's sometimes a little too exciting. But I love it because I can talk to you guys. We can connect the dots here. And these things are so serious and so crazy that are happening that it's super important that we have these discussions here, that I give you my opinion, you give me your opinion, and questions in Pioneerlands on the Pioneer Academy, so we can discuss that, because never before in your life was it as important as now to stay ahead of what's happening, because there will be rapid confusion happening. And that is very dangerous and has a ton of opportunities. So I hope that was interesting, and see you tomorrow.